What happens when a teen receptionist brushes off a struggling guest, unaware that the man standing silently behind her owns the entire company? Sebastian Fuller had inherited the 13-location hotel chain from his father 6 years ago. At 38, he was sharp, driven, and determined to modernize the legacy without losing its core. But lately, reviews had soured, especially for one location in Westfield. Complaints about rude staff, long waits at check-in, and poor communication kept coming in. His district manager claimed it was just a staffing issue, but Sebastian was done listening to filtered reports. He shaved his beard, dyed the ends of his hair to a dull brown, threw on a faded hoodie and worn jeans, and checked in as a guest under the name Kyle. No one at the Westfield branch had ever met him in person. Most of the team was hired post-COVID, and the last time he'd visited in person was nearly 4 years ago. He arrived on a rainy Thursday afternoon. The lobby smelled faintly like cleaning spray. A teenage receptionist tapped lazily on her phone behind the counter, gum popping softly between her teeth. Her name tag read, Madison. Sebastian stepped back and watched as a woman in her 50s walked up to the desk, dragging a battered suitcase and holding a printed confirmation. "Excuse me," the woman said quietly. "I think I'm early, but I've had a long bus ride. I was hoping we don't do early check-ins unless you pay for early access." Madison cut her off without looking up. The woman flinched. "Oh, I didn't know, I'm sorry." "I don't have much, then you'll have to wait," Madison said flatly, scrolling through her phone. "There's a bench outside." Sebastian's jaw tightened. He stepped forward. "Hi, I have a reservation too," he said, keeping his voice neutral. Madison finally looked up, her expression bored. "Name, Kyle Freeman," she typed slowly, smacking her gum. "You're in room 214. Check-in's not for another hour, though." "I don't mind waiting," he said. "But is there anywhere the lady can sit inside? She looks exhausted." Madison shrugged. "Lobbies for guests only." Sebastian turned to the woman. "Ma'am, I don't mind if you sit next to me, I'll vouch for you." Madison sighed dramatically. "Whatever. Fine." The woman gave him a small, tired smile and sat down carefully on the lobby bench. Sebastian sat next to her, pretending to scroll his phone while watching the front desk. A few minutes later, the manager walked in mid-30s, stocky, wearing a polo shirt with a faded name tag that read Derek. He gave Madison a nod and started counting the cash drawer. Madison leaned over and whispered something to him while pointing toward the woman. "She's not even a guest yet," Sebastian heard her say. "She tried to get in early for free." Derek didn't even glance toward the woman. "If she's not checked in, she shouldn't be in the lobby." "Tell her to wait outside." Sebastian stood. "Excuse me. I just wanted to point out she's not asking for freebies. She just wanted to sit down. It's pouring outside." Derek looked at him, annoyed. "Sir, unless you're a manager, I don't think this concerns you. I'm a paying guest." "It concerns me when someone's treated like that." "Let's not cause a scene," Derek said, now clearly irritated. "Madison, just let her stay. We don't need a Yelp review over this." Sebastian sat again, heart pounding. He didn't come here to fight, but he was already seeing why complaints were piling up. That night, he walked the hallways, quietly observing. Housekeeping seemed stretched thin, only one cart in use, and the woman pushing it looked like she hadn't taken a break in hours. He made a mental note to talk to her later. The next morning, Sebastian returned to the lobby early, dressed in the same hoodie and jeans. The woman from yesterday had already checked in and thanked him again in passing. At 8:15 a.m., a young man, maybe 20, limped into the lobby with a suitcase, breathing heavily. His shirt was damp and his left arm was in a sling. He approached the counter and said, "Hi, I have a room booked under Evan Carter." "I'm sorry, I didn't expect the walk from the bus stop to be this far." Madison looked up from her phone. "Name again." "Evan Carter," she typed. "You're super early, room's not ready, come back around 3. I understand, I don't mind waiting. Could I sit here for a bit?" "I just need to catch my breath." Madison rolled her eyes. "The lobby's for checked-in guests. But I will be a guest, then come back when you are one." She pointed to the door. There's a bench outside. Sebastian was standing 5 feet behind her. He stepped forward slowly, his pulse thudding in his ears. Madison, he said calmly. Do you treat all injured guests this way? Madison turned, surprised. Excuse me? But Sebastian wasn't looking at her anymore. His focus was on Evan. You're hurt. You okay? Evan nodded, embarrassed. I tripped getting off the bus. It's not broken, just sore. You'll wait here inside, Sebastian said firmly, then turned to Madison, and you're going to apologize. Who are you to tell me what to do? Madison snapped. Sebastian reached slowly into his jacket, pulled out his actual ID and laid it on the counter. Sebastian Fuller, I own this hotel. Madison's mouth dropped open. Derek, who had just walked out of the back office, froze in place. Sebastian looked at both of them. Let's talk. Derek's face went pale, the kind of pale that made veins stand out along the neck. He stepped forward, trying to steady his voice. Mr. Fuller, I didn't realize. You didn't need to realize, Sebastian said, his tone measured. You needed to pay attention. That young man clearly walked in here hurt, and your front desk sent him outside like trash. Madison's arms crossed defensively. I didn't know he was. You didn't ask, Sebastian cut in. You didn't look. You didn't care. That's the problem. Evan stood awkwardly to the side, eyes darting between them. Sebastian turned to him gently. There's a chair in the lounge behind the lobby. It's quieter. Please wait there. Someone will bring you water. Evan nodded, avoiding eye contact, and limped away. Derek opened his mouth, but Sebastian raised a hand. Not here. He walked past the counter without waiting for them to follow, heading through the staff-only door behind the front desk. The hallway beyond smelled like microwave meals and copier toner. Inside the small manager's office, Sebastian waited until both Derek and Madison followed him before closing the door. I'll make this quick, he said. Madison, you're done here. Madison's mouth dropped open, but no sound came out. That's it, she finally said, voice rising. You're firing me just like that. You've been here less than a year, correct? Since March, she said stiffly. In that time, we've had multiple complaints about front desk behavior. You've ignored guests, refused basic hospitality, and today you showed a complete lack of empathy. This isn't a training issue, this is an attitude issue. Her arms stayed folded, but her lip trembled now. No one trained me for this kind of stuff. I just do what I was told. Sebastian turned to Derek. You told her to turn away anyone early. Derek hesitated. We've had guests try to take advantage. I told the team to stick to policy. Policy doesn't mean inhumanity, Sebastian said, his voice cool. And you didn't correct her until I stepped in. That's also not just policy, that's neglect. Madison shifted her weight. So that's it. You'll be paid for the week, Sebastian said. But your employment ends today. She scoffed, stormed past him, and slammed the office door behind her. Silence settled for a moment. Derek leaned against the desk, rubbing his forehead. Look, I know it looks bad. But we've been short-staffed. I'm covering housekeeping some days. Some mornings I'm up at 5 just to prep breakfast trays. I saw one cart yesterday. One, Sebastian said. Even if you're helping, that's not sustainable. A long exhale. We've had 3 people quit in the last month. 2 no-shows on interviews. I've sent the requests up the chain, but corporate's been slow. You never escalated it to me, Sebastian said. I didn't think it'd make a difference, Derek admitted. I figured I'd get told to manage with what I have. Sebastian studied him. He didn't see defiance. He saw someone running on fumes. I'm not blind to the staffing crisis, Sebastian said, but there's no excuse for what happened out there. Derek nodded slowly. Understood. You'll remain on for now, Sebastian said, but starting today I'm conducting a full operations review. I want to meet every department head. I'm not here to micromanage, I'm here to listen. But if I find anyone cutting corners at the expense of guests or staff, I won't hesitate again. Derek straightened. Fair, Sebastian checked his watch. I'll start with housekeeping. Who's on shift? Only 2 today, Lacey and Darnell. Where's Lacey now? 3rd floor, room turn. Sebastian nodded. I'll find her. The hallway leading to the service elevator buzzed with a low mechanical hum. A housekeeping cart stood parked outside room 317. Sebastian knocked lightly before stepping in. The room smelled faintly of bleach and citrus. A woman in her mid-40s worked silently, wiping down the bathroom mirror. Her uniform looked a size too big and her sneakers had worn soles. "Lacey?" he asked. She turned, startled. "Yes, I'm Sebastian. I'm with management." "I know who you are," she said, setting down the cloth. "Derek messaged me, said you'd be stopping by." Sebastian didn't press. He motioned to the chair by the desk and she nodded, giving him permission to sit. "How long have you been with us?" "7 years," she said. "Since before the remodel," he nodded. "How many rooms are you handling today?" 11. "Darnell's got 12. That's a lot for 2 people." She gave a shrug that wasn't indifferent, just tired. "Weekends are worse. Any injuries?" "Back strain, repetitive motion." "I've had to ice my wrists at night," she admitted, "but I can't afford to take time off. We're already behind most days." "Has anyone from corporate asked about workload?" "No," she said. "But Derek's been trying to hire. No one stays long. They come in, realize how much work it is, and quit." "Do you feel supported by your manager?" She paused. "He tries, but he doesn't have time either. He's covering night audits sometimes, and laundry." Sebastian absorbed that. "What would help the most right now, honestly?" she said. "Even just a third person on shift, not even full-time, just enough to keep up." He stood. "Thank you, Lacey, you've been doing more than your share." She nodded once, then turned back to the mirror. Sebastian took the elevator back down. In the laundry room, he found Darnell, a wiry man in his 30s, shoving linens into an industrial washer. Sweat stained his collar. They spoke briefly, and the story was the same. Overwork, no coverage, but a quiet determination to get through each day. By noon, Sebastian had spoken with nearly every staff member on duty. The breakfast attendant had been pulling extra shifts after her coworker quit. Maintenance was down to 1 man who'd been juggling plumbing issues and AC breakdowns. At 1 p.m., he asked Derek to gather everyone in the staff break room. It wasn't large, maybe 20 chairs crammed around 2 folding tables, but it was enough. Sebastian stood at the front, no podium, no clipboard. "I owe you all transparency," he began. "I came here undercover because I needed to see what was really going on. I didn't want filtered reports, I wanted the truth." He scanned the room. Lacey sat near the back, twisting her hands in her lap. Darnell leaned against the wall, arms crossed but listening. Derek stood near the door, not speaking. "What I found is a team that's stretched to the edge, overworked, undersupported, and still many of you are showing up and doing your best. That doesn't go unnoticed." A few heads nodded. Eyes stayed on him. "Some of what I saw was unacceptable. I've already taken action on that. But moving forward, I'm not interested in blame, I'm interested in solutions." No one interrupted. He continued. "Effective immediately, we're opening 3 new positions, 2 housekeeping, 1 front desk floater. I've cleared the budget myself. Derek will begin interviews this week. If you know someone dependable, refer them. There's a bonus if they stay past 60 days. A flicker of surprise passed through a few faces. "Second," he said, "every staff member here will be scheduled a one-on-one with me before I leave this site. I want to hear what's working, what's not, and what you need. You'll be paid for that time." Lacey looked up. "Third," he said, "breaks. If you are working more than 6 hours, you will take one. That's not optional, and it's on management to make it possible. If it's not happening, I want to know." He paused, letting that land. "This place can't run without you. I don't want you burning out, and I don't want guests walking into a building where the people meant to greet them are too exhausted to care." He stepped back. "I'm here all week. My door's open." Then he left the room without waiting for applause. He didn't want applause. He wanted results. By midweek, Sebastian had heard enough stories to map out the internal fractures of the Westfield Hotel without needing a spreadsheet. What struck him most wasn't the chaos, it was the quiet resignation. People weren't complaining because they'd given up on being heard. That morning, he arrived before sunrise, opting to shadow the breakfast prep team. A young woman named Alondra, barely in her 20s, was already slicing fruit with headphones dangling from her collar. She greeted him with a nod, not knowing who he was. The second attendant hadn't shown up again, third time that week, and Alondra had stopped expecting help. As she arranged trays of croissants under the warming lamp, Sebastian asked, "You always open alone?" "Lately," she said, not looking up, "but I've got it down to a system." "You get breaks," she paused and glanced at the clock. "Not really, I eat while I prep, it's fine." He didn't press. She was efficient, but the circles under her eyes told the real story. By 7:30, the lobby had filled with early risers grabbing coffee and guests checking out. Sebastian stood near the front desk, watching quietly as a new face stepped behind the counter. A young man in a buttoned shirt and dark slacks, clearly nervous. "Morning," he said to a guest, voice a little too high. "Checking out," the guest nodded, and the attendant began the process slowly, tapping each key like it might bite him. Sebastian leaned closer. "First week," the man gave a tight laugh. "First day, name's Julian, just transferred from River Point." Julian struggled through the next few checkouts, but he was polite, careful, and genuinely apologetic when he needed extra time. Sebastian stood back, watching how guests responded to kindness over speed. No one complained. But by 9, things took a turn. A tall man in his 40s approached the desk wearing a blazer and carrying a briefcase. His tone was clipped before he even reached the counter. "I've been waiting for a callback since last night. I booked a conference room for this morning and no one's confirmed access." Julian froze, glancing down at the monitor. "I'm sorry, I'm still figuring out the system." "I don't care about the system," the man interrupted. "I have 6 clients arriving in 20 minutes. Where's your manager?" Sebastian stepped forward before Julian could panic. "I can help," he said. "I'm with corporate." The man waved his hand impatiently. "Then fix it." Sebastian led him aside, asked for the reservation name, and confirmed the booking. The conference room had been assigned, but no keycard had been programmed. He found the master card in the back office and walked the man down himself. After unlocking the room, he stayed a moment, scanning the space. The chairs were misaligned, the whiteboard was still smudged with notes from a prior meeting, and the coffee station was bone dry. "Was this room cleaned yesterday?" he asked aloud, not expecting an answer. A voice behind him said, "No, we didn't have enough staff to prep it." He turned. Derek stood in the doorway, sleeves rolled up, looking drained. "I meant to get to it last night," Derek added, "but I was stuck helping with laundry again." "No one told me the room was booked." Sebastian didn't respond right away. He picked up a marker cap from the floor, set it on the tray, and looked up. "You're running on fumes." Derek leaned against the doorframe. "I know. I've approved the new hires. Start interviews tomorrow." "You'll get the help, but I need something from you in return." "Anything?" "The front desk needs a lead, someone stable, someone who doesn't just know the system but knows how to manage pressure." Derek hesitated. "I don't have anyone ready." "You do. Julian's green, but he's teachable." "Train him. Pair him with someone reliable." Derek's brow furrowed. "Reliable's in short supply," Sebastian nodded. "Then find out who's worth investing in and start documenting everything. If we're going to rebuild, we need structure." That afternoon, Sebastian sat in the break room with Lacey, notebook open between them. She'd asked for the meeting after her shift, and he'd honored it. "I've been thinking," she said, rubbing her wrist absently. "You asked what would help, and I said more hands. That's true, but there's more." He waited. "We've had no consistent supervisor in housekeeping since Francis left. Darnell's great, but he's not a planner. We need someone who can schedule, order supplies, check rooms before they go back on the board. Right now, we just guess when something's clean enough." "Who do you think could lead?" She hesitated. "I could. I've done it before years ago at another hotel, but I'd need training." "And a raise." "You'll get both," Sebastian said without pause. "You start shadowing Derek next week. We'll set up a leadership course online. You'll be the official housekeeping supervisor by next month." Lacey blinked. "Really? You've earned it, haven't you?" A small, unexpected laugh escaped her. "Guess I have." By evening, Sebastian was back in the lobby. The rhythm was smoother, Julian was gaining his footing, and no one was waiting more than a minute. Then the elevator dinged and a woman stepped out, pulling a child behind her. The girl looked about 8, dragging a stuffed fox by the ear. The woman approached the counter, tense. "I need to speak with someone," she said. "Our room wasn't cleaned again. This is the second day." "We've been out since morning." Julian looked up, uncertain. "I'll get someone to speak with you." "I'm someone," Sebastian said, stepping forward. The woman glanced at him, skeptical. "Are you a manager?" "I'm the owner." Her demeanor shifted. "I'm not trying to cause trouble. But my daughter spilled juice yesterday and we left a note asking for cleanup. We came back and the sheets were still sticky. Today, same thing." Sebastian nodded. "Do you mind showing me?" She hesitated, then led him up. The room was neat to the untrained eye, but the sheets were clearly unchanged. A note still sat on the nightstand, folded. "Did you report this to the front desk?" "I tried. No one answered the phone." He picked up the note, read it, and nodded. "I'm sorry. This shouldn't have happened. I just want my daughter to sleep in a clean bed, that's all. You will tonight. I'll have someone up in 20 minutes to change the linens myself if I have to," she softened. "Thank you." Back downstairs, Sebastian found Derek coming out of the back office. "Guest in 322. Room missed 2 days in a row, no record of the service request." Derek looked frustrated. "We've got no process for tracking requests. If it's not logged at the desk right, it disappears." "Then build one," Sebastian said. "Whiteboard, clipboard, whatever. Start simple. But no more lost requests." "Understood." Sebastian moved through the lobby again, slower this time. Guests sat on couches, chatting. The coffee station was clean. The energy had shifted, not fixed, just less brittle. Then he saw Evan again, the young man with the sling. He was checking out, suitcase in hand. He spotted Sebastian and paused. "Thanks for helping the other day," Evan said, awkward but sincere. "Most people don't," Sebastian nodded. "You doing better?" Evan lifted his arm slightly. "Got looked at. Just a sprain." "I'm heading back to campus." "Glad to hear it." Evan hesitated. "This place, it's got some rough edges, but you're trying to fix it, that matters." He walked off, leaving Sebastian with a thought that lingered longer than the conversation did. Later that night, Sebastian sat alone in the back office, reviewing the week's notes. Pages of observations, names, recommendations. The easy thing would be to approve new hires, send a memo, and move on, but something about Westfield stuck with him. The staff here didn't need a makeover. They needed someone to believe their daily effort mattered. He closed the folder, stood, and looked at the employee schedule taped to the wall. Tomorrow, he'd meet with Darnell about formalizing the laundry roll, and then he'd call corporate. Because if Westfield had been left behind, chances were other locations had too. 2 weeks later, Sebastian Fuller was back in Westfield, this time through the front door, dressed in a navy sport coat and black slacks. His hair was back to its natural shade, and the worn hoodie was gone. He didn't sneak in this time. He walked in openly, nodding to the front desk staff as he passed. Julian was at the counter, more confident now, tapping keys with steady rhythm. His shirt was pressed, and he greeted guests with a calm tone. A new hire, a young woman named Kira, stood beside him, watching attentively and asking questions. There was still a slight line forming during peak times, but nothing like before. Sebastian didn't need to linger. He'd been reading daily reports since his last visit. This was a checkpoint, part of a broader plan, not a one-time spectacle. He stepped into the back office where Derek was reviewing schedules. The whiteboard behind him was filled with shifts, colored tabs marking staff availability, temporary coverage, and open interviews. The board was real messy, functional, but real. "Morning," Sebastian said. Derek stood up. "Hey, you caught me mid-schedule. Lacey's been helping track coverage gaps. We've started blocking out recovery time after heavy shifts." Sebastian nodded. "How's that going?" "We're still tight," Derek said, "but it's better. 2 new housekeepers started this week. Lacey's been walking them through the checklist she built." "Is she managing well?" Derek motioned to a clipboard. "She's running circles around me." Even built a daily rotation that's cut down turnover time by 15%. Sebastian leaned against the doorframe. That's what we needed, consistency. Derek hesitated. Can I say something? Of course. I didn't expect you to come back. Most people at your level, they drop in, shake things up, then disappear. Sebastian looked him in the eye. I don't believe in fixing things from a distance. Derek gave a short nod, then turned back to the board. We're still waiting on the third hire for front desk. Julian's training Kira, but she's got a learning curve. Any concerns? No, she's green, but she listens. That's more than I could say for some people before. Sebastian didn't need the names. The damage had already been addressed. He moved to the staff lounge next. Lacey was there, filling out a supply request on her tablet. Her uniform fit properly now, and she wore a badge that read, Housekeeping Supervisor. Got a minute? Sebastian asked. She set the tablet down. Always. He sat across from her. You seem more relaxed. I sleep now, she said without smiling. That's the difference. He tilted his head. Workload manageable, we're still catching up, she said. But I've got 2 solid people now. I trained them myself, so I know what they can handle. And I've been rotating them through floors instead of assigning the same ones every day. Keeps it fair. Sebastian nodded. What do you need next? She considered. A second vacuum. That might sound small, but we've been sharing one between carts. It slows down the whole process. He wrote it down. You'll have it by Friday. She raised a brow. Just like that, he met her gaze. That's what supervisors are for. You identify what's slowing the team down. I clear the path. Lacey folded her hands on the table. It's strange. I used to think no one cared, that we were invisible. Now people check in on us. That's not strange, Sebastian said. That's overdue. She glanced toward the hallway. Darnell's been asking if there's a laundry system update coming. He's still tracking loads on sticky notes. Have him draw up a proposal, Sebastian said. We'll look into a basic digital tracker, something simple. She gave a slight nod. He'll like that. Sebastian stood. You've turned things around in a short time. Lacey looked up. We just needed someone to notice. Later that afternoon, Sebastian sat in the small conference room with the door open, reviewing weekly performance metrics. The numbers weren't perfect, but they told a story. Fewer guest complaints, improved room turnaround, and higher satisfaction scores on internal surveys. Julian knocked lightly on the doorframe. Got a second? He asked. Sebastian looked up. Of course. Julian stepped inside, hands clasped behind his back. I just wanted to say thanks. You could have let me sink that first week. I know I was slow. You were learning, Sebastian said. You didn't give up. That matters more than speed. Julian hesitated. I've been thinking about school, business classes, maybe hospitality management. I didn't take it seriously before, but now. This feels like something I could grow in. Then do it, Sebastian said. We have tuition assistance. Derek can help you apply. Julian blinked. I didn't know that. It's buried in the employee portal, Sebastian said. We'll fix that too. Julian smiled, nodded, and left the room. By early evening, Sebastian walked the halls once more. He passed a maintenance cart near the service elevator. It was organized, tools labeled, nothing scattered. A man in his 50s was adjusting a ceiling vent. They exchanged a nod, no words needed. In the lobby, a woman and her teenage son waited at the front desk. The boy wore a travel neck pillow and held a bag of sunflower seeds. Kira approached them with a calm demeanor. I see your room is ready. Would you like 1 key or 2? 2, please, the woman said. Kira printed the cards without fumbling, handed them over with a smile, and offered directions to the elevator. The boy gave a quiet thank you before they walked away. Sebastian waited until the guests were gone, then approached the desk. You're settling in, he said. Kira looked up, surprised. I'm trying. I get nervous when more than 2 people are waiting, but Julian talks me through it. Do you feel supported? She nodded. More than I expected. When I started, I thought I'd be ignored like I was at my last job, but here people check in, they explain things. Sebastian leaned on the counter. Keep learning. Watch how people respond, not just what they say, how they say it. You'll build instincts that way. Kira nodded slowly. I think I want to move into guest relations one day, maybe handle group bookings. Then we'll make sure you get exposure to that. Ask Derek to loop you in on the next booking inquiry, she smiled. Thank you. As the sun dipped below the parking lot, casting long shadows across the lobby floor, Sebastian stepped outside. The breeze carried the scent of fresh grass from the landscaping crew that had trimmed the hedges that morning. It was a small detail, but one more sign of things moving in the right direction. He walked the perimeter once, passing the bench where Evan had been told to wait. It sat empty now, clean, freshly painted. A new sign beside it read, "Welcome guests, please check in inside." On his way back in, he stopped at the reception desk. Julian was wrapping up a phone call and Kira was assisting an elderly man with a room change. No raised voices, no confusion. Just steady, respectful service. Sebastian stood back and watched for a moment longer, then turned toward the elevators. Upstairs, the conference room had a fresh pot of coffee brewing. Chairs were aligned. The whiteboard was clean, small signs but important ones. In his suite, he sat at the desk and opened his laptop. A message from corporate waited questions about scaling the approach from Westfield to other properties. He began typing a reply, listing what worked, what didn't, and what must never be compromised. Before closing the lid, he opened one last file, a staff recognition list. He added 3 names, not for promotions, not for show. Just a list of people doing the right thing quietly. He leaned back in the chair, exhaled, then glanced out the window at the parking lot below. The place wasn't perfect, it probably never would be, but it was no longer broken, and everyone inside knew it.